Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion on this beautiful day. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am thrilled to pieces to be here with this other, another gift of another 24 hours to get it right, to whatever we want to, and just to become our very best selves. Today, I want to talk about um, hanging with good vibes. It's so essential that we keep good company, not only because it's more pleasant, but also more conducive to our own well being and personal growth. So, I want to give a big shout out to Dr. Richard Carlson. He's author of the Don't Sweat the Small Stuff books. I've been a little bit of a jag with him lately. Just know there's a bunch of these books. It's not just one I'm kind of honing in on. And I like his idea with the series, and they're small and they're just a page or two, which is kind of what most of us can digest these days. So he's got Don't Sweat the Small Stuff with the Family, which I just took a peek at today, and that's what I'm talking about today. There's Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, just the first one. Then there's Don't Sweat the Small Stuff with Money, and there's I think one with relationship. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of them, but they're a nice dose. They're just a page or two, and a nice food for the spirit. So anyway, this whole keeping good company thing, I've been talking about this in Minecraft since its, start in different ways, and how, people and circumstances how we can allow them, big word allow them to affect our mood. And so Richard Carlson, PhD, starts out with most people acknowledge the fact that we are affected positively and negatively by the people we spend the most time around. Kids are affected by their parents and vice versa, and spouses are affected by one another, as are siblings. We are also affected by the people we work with and by our friends and neighbors. Obviously, right? And we know that, but yet I don't think, if we're on autopilot, which we know is the biggest thief of life minutes that there could possibly be, we might be spending some of our life minutes in a way that we don't really want to. And we walk around making, active decisions and passive decisions all day long. Active ones being the better ones because we are consciously making choices about where we place our focus. Wherever we place our focus is where our energy goes. And wherever our energy goes is what is successful, which can be defined in all kinds of different ways. We can also make decisions passively because we feel overwhelmed, don't want to think about it, and then the universe takes care of it, and the decision gets made, one way or the other. I was just finishing up a module for an online course I'm working on, and it's actually about optimism as a lifestyle. And I've done all kinds of things with the Minecraft YouTube channel and everything about that, so I'm not going to go all over that. One thing I was talking about, though, as optimism as a lifestyle, as part of that is cherry picking who we hang out with. Now, does that mean, give up on somebody because they got a couple of things about their personality we don't really like? No, not necessarily. Now the toxics, that's a whole nother level, because obviously we want to give it, always give it that last college try, because none of us are perfect. We're not saying that. We're not talking about the toxics today either, because they need to be released like helium balloons. We're talking about everybody else. So it doesn't mean to just cut the relationship off necessarily, unless, if you're no longer growing from it, if you're dreading it, then that's a whole other thing too. But sometimes it means, you've got your inner circle that you grow from. They bring you joy, you bring them joy, you help them grow. Again, we're not saying it's a perfect situation, because there isn't such thing. But you look forward to seeing them the majority of the time, that sort of thing. If it's a situation, because people do outgrow each other, it doesn't mean that they're an evil demon. It doesn't mean anything. They might, if you don't have as much in common anymore, again, it doesn't mean to really, take the scissors and cut the string. It just means maybe to allot fewer life minutes to that person. And maybe it's, and also in the reverse, because it's a natural thing. We all grow and change. And you really want to think about that, right? Because our life minutes are our most valuable, precious commodity, if we can even call it that, right? And they are they are limited. We don't tend to think of it, especially when we're younger. We often don't start to think about that until we enter, middle age, and we're like, whoa, far fewer of these in front of me than behind me. But the other thing is that if somebody's a negative Nelly, I've met people like this that are, good people, really good people, and they battle it. They battle the negativity. So it doesn't mean give up on them. I've got one person I can think of in particular. I absolutely love him. And I it's a small dose situation because he's a good person. I adore him. It's small doses because I can only like a lunch once in a while works. We catch up, and that's kind of where it's at because too much it's just it's very easy for it to like start to try to bring it down and like no, I don't want to do that. So a lot of times people say, misery loves company, and that's not true. Misery loves miserable company. Those of us who have chosen optimism as a lifestyle do not love to be miserable. We don't enjoy being around miserable people, and we take them in small doses because we have like a force field up around us that's kind of like working like insect repellent. Just da, 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 just I can take this for about 15 minutes, maybe tough it through a lunch, but that's it. And that's because there are other redeeming qualities to the person. They might be also like somebody closely related to you and it's, a holiday or something. So it doesn't mean to just, as they say, throw out the baby with the bathwater, but definitely to just limit that, just and also another thing that is just to be sort of strategized because what you can do with people who you want in your life, but just in small doses, is invite them to situations where it's not as easy for them to be negative. When there's a bunch of people around, it's a gathering, it's not like a one-on-one situation, something outside, picnic, that, and then all that socializing is happening but they're not like, an anchor thrown around your neck bringing you down. So there are all kinds of ways to do that. But the whole thing here, main theme to this episode is to really get sort of deliberate because living deliberately involves lots of things. Living deliberately means living by choice, being active in your own life. And that involves, you know, uh, wa- monitoring where your life minutes are going because you're not getting them back. And part of that is hand selecting who is worthy of you, who's worthy to be in your life. And that's just about as direct as I know how to be with that. Okay, so Richard Carlson, PhD, says basically, something similar or the same to what I'm saying. He says your time and energy are among your most precious and important assets, what I refer to as life minutes, right? He says, therefore, it's extremely important to make wise and well thought out choices about who you spend your time with. Do you spend time with people who are truly nourishing to you and your family, if that's the case? Or do you choose your company much more randomly? That's what you want to not do. Okay. Random. That's just passive decision making. So you can just toss it up in the air like a 52 card pickup and see where the cards lie, or you can consciously choose, how your life's going to map out. And that's a whole bigger conversation. Right now we're talking about surrounding yourself with good vibes as much as possible. He says if you're honest, you might be surprised by your answer. Okay, as far as how you choose the company you keep. Perhaps you are friends with people without really knowing why. I also like this. You don't really know why. Often, also out of laziness. That is a thing. Because again, we do outgrow people. It doesn't mean they're evil demons or we're evil demons or anything like that. Sometimes you just like tree branches, you're all growing, but you're growing off in a different direction. And sometimes because we're in a habit of doing things with people, maybe for 5 or 10 years or more, doing the same whatever it is every year, and you're just like, "Oh my god, that's a perfectly good weekend. I don't wanna do it." I wanna go do this. It's like we've got a gorgeous weekend going on now as we speak. I just came in from doing all the flowers on the deck, actually. I cannot imagine sacrificing this golden weekend. It's a bluebird, it's sunny, it's Memorial Day weekend, actually. I usually don't say that because it's weird if you listen to this in December, but that can be a gorgeous day in a different way. I'm a huge fan of the winter, but it happens to be this bluebird of a long weekend. Man, what it would take me to rip me out of my yard right now, it would have to be somebody first string, highly worthy of my life minutes to go do something because that's who I would drop everything for. Got to really think that way. And it might just be out of laziness. So we admit to, okay, I'll come over and do this, I'll come over and do that. And you don't want to. And what happens is we get resentful and and then pissed. And I'm not trying to promote selfishness either. There's a fine line there, because I'm not saying don't go out of your way. That, we definitely have to go out of our way for people. If we've got people in our family or people we know who are lonely, that's also something worthy of our life minutes. We're not saying that. We're talking about all the kind of regular situations that happen where we kind of do stuff by default, and that we just do not want to do. And you got to really weigh that out. Is this a spiritually, is this important because I'm doing something I don't really want to do, but the reward is huge because it's somebody who's important to me and they're having a rough time? Yes. Okay. Is it worth it to me because I'm getting joy from being with my best friend who I haven't seen in 6 months or something? Yes. Worth it with obviously the kids and the partner and stuff. That's the inner circle. We're not talking about that. We're talking about all this other stuff. Trim the fat. It's something to scratch off the to-do list, which means it goes on your not to-do list. Okay, so we have, or out of laziness, perceived convenience, which is also what we're talking about because it's just easy, right? Or simply habit. Habits can be good, bad, or anywhere in between. Obviously, we think of like some really bad ones like smoking and, you know, um, speeding and all kinds of things like that, and good ones like running and skiing and eating well. And then there's the whole middle. Sometimes we're just, doing things out of patterns that we're just used to showing up at this thing, like I said, once a year, or maybe it's a day thing because you've always done this in May or June with that friend. And you, again, kindness, you can find a way to ease out of it because we really want to surround ourselves with the people we want to be with most of the time, doing the things that we would like to do most of the time, things that make us feel good, keeping it real, keeping it authentic. Okay, so then Richard actually makes a really good point because he's, well-known author, obviously, and he's moving and grooving, out in the world, doing speaking engagements and things like that. He says how he meets hundreds of people I really like for for a variety of reasons, but would much rather not spend time with. And there's only so much time in the day is the point, right? And he says, and for the most part, my guess is that most of those people feel the same way about me. I love to spend time alone, and if I'm going to be with someone else, I'd like it to be with someone I truly enjoy being with. Honestly, I think a lot of this wonderful outlook is you come into it, it's not I don't think you can really just, learn it out of a textbook. You got to hear it, let it resonate, and then as you kind of progress through life, you get a lot more conscious, I think, of where your energy's going and your life minutes. It's just how it works. And then he also talks about how this strategy has the potential to have a major influence on the quality of your life. The people around you, particularly those you choose to spend time with, have a great deal of influence on your attitude and state of being. If you choose to keep good company, your life will be easier and far less stressful. All right, great way to wind up. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day. And then Richard makes a really good point, right? Because he's this well known author and he moves around speaking and everything like that. So he's kind of has a lot of exposure, high profile, right? So he says he's met hundreds of people, which I'm sure he has. And that's probably on the low side, right? Hundreds of people I like for a variety of reasons, but would much rather not spend time with. You meet lots of cool people when you're out there moving around, but they're again only so much time in the day. So he says, and for the most part, my guess is that most of the people feel the same way about me. I love to spend time alone, and if I'm going to be with someone else, I like it to be with someone I truly enjoy being with. And that is what we are talking about. All right, then, this is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the gorgeous Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.